everybody, and welcome back to our continuing live coverage here at Curious Realm of the Southeast Texas Bigfoot Festival. We have been here with some incredible guests today. We had King Gerhardt, cryptozoologist extraordinaire, up here at the beginning of the show. He had a great presentation a while ago. We had Charlie D. Perez from Paranormal and Plastic up here showing off some fantastic artwork, which I bid on. Hopefully I win. More tchotchkes for the studio background. I got some great stuff over here from our good friend Craig Woolheater. I got my little Yeti guy. Craig, how you doing, my friend?
Good to see you.
Great to finally meet you in person, man. We have had you on the show a few times. I have sponsored your upcoming Folk Monster Festival, the upcoming Texas Bigfoot Festival, Texas Bigfoot Film Festival, another one in the cooking that I don't know if you're announcing yet or not, but
Texas UFO Con.
Well, I guess you are announcing. Man, I can't wait for that.
Coming up in November in Jefferson, Texas.
Wow. And we were just talking up here with George Jones a minute ago about how exactly successful this great event is here. Once again, I was really, really impressed with the fact that just last week they had the Tyler Paranormal Convention, and Mineola showed out in force for this. Really, really incredible to see the backup of a local community behind events like this.
Sure. I mean, and people come from all around. I don't know how many states people came from, but I'm sure surrounding states of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. I mean, we're not far from the border of all those states here.
Yeah, and that's just it. Especially right up here, this is the Big Thicket area. This is where most of the sightings in Texas occurs, up around this area, up around this tri-state area where the three really come together and touch, right. Which is why you have, of course, the Folk Monster Festival named after the famous folk monster, all kinds of things. And yeah, once again, really, really great to see a community come out from all over, and even here locally come out and support like this. Sure. Now you are, at least to me, one of the first cryptozoologists that I ever found. It was something for me when I found you that it was a whole new world of knowledge for me. And at the time, you had Crypto Mundo was new, all that kind of stuff. Man, what has it been like for you to see a scene like this grow? To see more researchers coming about? Well, that kind of stuff.
To me, I really enjoy the camaraderie, the networking. These are great events for people, wanting to meet other people that are interested in the subject. And, I've always told people, even when I was doing active field work, that over 50% of this is the camaraderie. I mean, there's nothing better than hanging out with people, a group of like-minded people with a common interest. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, being able to sit back and talk about a topic unabashedly and, really unashamedly without somebody ridiculing you, questioning your belief, or even like we were saying earlier with King Gerhardt, just the fact of sitting back and culturally having the conversation with other people, I
agree.
And even the fact of, like I was saying, his father, who is a scientist, being proud of his research.
Same with my father. My father was a physics professor.
Oh, wow.
And, he was based on, hard, repeatable evidence.
Yeah.
But, I've been doing this a long time, publicly since 1999. Started hosting a Texas Bigfoot conference in 2001. And, have started adding more events. I just recently moved to Jefferson, which is the Bigfoot capital of Texas.
Yes, it is.
I wrote the town proclamation myself in 2017.
Yep.
And 2018 got, the mayor finally signed it. They've erected a life-size Bigfoot statue placed there by the Chamber of Commerce. and most of the restaurants have a Bigfoot burger or a Bigfoot barbecue sandwich, and several of the retail establishments are carrying a lot of Bigfoot souvenirs and T-shirts and stuff. So it's really been embraced. I mean, I've received 3 town proclamations actually. In 2005, it was proclaimed that the third weekend in October in Jefferson was Texas Bigfoot Weekend.
Oh, wow.
And I was presented with that proclamation as well as a key to the city.
Wow.
So then in 2016, they issued a proclamation in observance of the 15th anniversary. Like I said, in 2018, the proclamation of Jefferson being the Bigfoot capital of Texas, and just last October we held our 20th anniversary event in Jefferson. So I'm expanding events. I've moved to Jefferson now, so I'm planning to host an event a month. I host car club events, car shows, but most of it is cryptozoology related.
Yeah.
I've got another event coming up in September. That's going to be a crossover from Bigfoot to paranormal investigation, a group of a female team, paranormal investigators, but they've recently, 7 years ago or so, branched out into Sasquatch investigation.
Oh, wow.
From, in the Fargo, North Dakota area, are coming down to do some Bigfoot stuff and also to have an overnight paranormal investigation at the historic haunted Jefferson Hotel in Jefferson. And then like you mentioned, I'm starting up a Texas UFO Con in November in Jefferson. I have the Texas Bigfoot Conference in October. In December, I have the Bigfoot Film Festival in Marshall. So, it's really been embraced in over Far East Texas. The majority of the Bigfoot reports in this state take place in the eastern 1/3 of the state, where there's an abundance of rainfall, precipitation, an abundance of cover, and an abundance of food source. And that's where all the wild animals congregate. If they're real animals, creatures, whatever you want to say, they need food, cover, and water. And if you have those 3 things in abundance, you have an abundance of wildlife.
Yeah.
And, and if it's Bigfoot related, then there's an abundance of food source for, whatever the Bigfoot may be eating, plants, fish, turtles, deer, livestock from local farms. So, there's ample territory, in the 4-state region of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, and they all come together, all 4, and that's a concentration of forest land. There is, I believe, in the 4-state region, there is 100,000 square miles of forest land. Wow. Which is bigger than the size of the entire state of Oregon. Yeah. Of forest land in the 4 states. And like I said, when you've got that with abundant rainfall, water source, and other food sources,
supplies,
right? You're going to have animals. I mean, we have black bear, we have wild hogs, we have all kinds of even big cats. Mountain lions are seen here in this 4-state region. So I mean, if it can support those animals, it could easily support a Bigfoot.
Absolutely, and I think. Something that we were talking about with King Gerhard a while ago that a lot of people, I think, slips their mind whenever you're talking about trying to find a species like that, that kind of stuff, is that the home range of even the average species, whenever you're talking about a cougar, a bear, it can be miles.
Oh,
it
yeah,
can be miles.
miles.
So trying to find where it beds down or where it's eating, that kind of stuff.
Well, I liken it to, not even looking for a needle in a haystack. You're looking for a moving needle in a whole field of hay.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Pacific Northwest, the last count that I knew of, there were 72 aircraft that had crashed in the the forests, redwoods and forests of the Pacific Northwest that have not been found.
Yeah.
That's 72 airplanes.
And those things have transponders.
And those things are not moving.
Yeah.
And they're made of metal.
Yeah.
And they can't find them.
And we know a last known direction, last known altitude, last known speed. So figuring out a path of where it should be should not be rocket math.
You know, people think that, humans have covered every square inch of territory in the United States, North America, and it is just not the case.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the first time that I had you on the show was when the proclamation happened.
Yes, sir.
For Jefferson, and every time you've been on our show, we were even talking about it with King Gerhard earlier. I always show the map of the United States at night, as taken from the space station. Right. And granted, the most recent I think that NASA has posted is probably about 5 years ago. But even 5 years ago, whenever you look at the map of the U.S. at night,
lots of dark places.
From about halfway over, from the edge of Texas over, is dark at night. Mm-hmm. And that really does, like you're saying, illustrate how much wild territory there is out there, especially in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
There's even been the reporter that started doing the Missing 411 series,
right?
Which has been incredibly popular, and just the fact of there are so many people and strange instances within our national parks that they can't even find, people that go missing, things like that. So, yeah, really, really wild stuff abounding within those nature preserves, things like that. Now, in your literal over 20 years of research in this field, Craig, what has been some of the standout moments for you and things that you have investigated or cases that have come across your table?
Well, I've probably talked to over 300 people and that have claimed that they've seen, one of these animals, creatures, beings, whatever you want to say. And, there's only a couple possibilities as far as I'm concerned. Either they're lying about it, somebody could have hoaxed them, they could have been under the influence of narcotics or alcohol.
Sure.
They could be mistaking known wildlife or a person. Mm-hmm. And the only other possibility I see is, or they saw what they say they saw.
Yeah.
And if even one of those people is telling you that, then, there's something out there.
Yeah.
And I have my own experience from Louisiana in 1994 where I saw something no more than 20 feet from my vehicle at night on the side of the road that I can't explain away. So, if I threw out everything I've ever talked to anybody, I have my own experience that I can't explain away. So.
Yeah, and at that point, it's one of those like I don't know, you seem like a pretty sane individual, Craig, through the conversations that we've had privately and on air. Just as with any whistleblower or anything like that, until proven otherwise, I tend to believe your eyewitness account.
Well, the thing to me, and I don't typically use the word belief because that's taking something on faith.
Yes.
I think that the evidence points to these things being there.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it'd be far harder to believe that every footprint track that's been seen and cast and every eyewitness sighting is a hoax or mistaken identity than it is to take the preponderance of evidence into consideration that points to, something is there.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if you're talking the preponderance of anecdotal evidence,
sure,
even the preponderance of stories that are out there, because one of the things that we talk about regularly on the show is crop circles, and of course people bring up hoaxed crop circles.
Right.
It's like, okay, yeah, there are hoaxes, and a lot of modern hoaxes, a lot of modern, artists out there doing things like that.
Doug and Dave.
Yeah, and. But it's also one of those, the stories of the devil's circles in England go back to the 1500s. They go back to the time of the Black Plague. And you know what they didn't really have a whole lot of time to do in the Black Plague?
Make fake crop circles.
Make fake crop circles or destroy half a field of crop. Yeah. You would have been driven out of town.
Right.
And when you're talking about people in the 1800s, things like that have anecdotal sightings where they were in newspapers, that kind of stuff. It's it's hard to dismiss that
Well-
because they had something better to do
Sure.
than to fake that
You
or
know.
to try to sensationalize that you saw something.
And here in North America, the Native American legends and lore go back hundreds and hundreds
yeah.
of years, that
Yeah.
they accepted them as another tribe that lived in the woods.
Yeah.
And some tribes, even, I wouldn't say traded with them, but left food offerings for them.
Yes.
But some tribes avoided them at all cost and said that,
They were
to see
dangerous.
one was a death omen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's been, all kinds of, legends and lore dating back hundreds of years, certainly before, the Patterson-Gimlin film came
Absolutely.
out in 1967, or the famous Bigfoot tracks where the name Bigfoot was coined from 1958 in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even here in the South, Bigfoot was not used. I mean, people, it was the boogeyman or the wild man of the woods or
Yeah.
whatever. It wasn't associated with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And those go back hundreds of years.
Yeah, and especially now, even regionally, whenever you're talking about sightings, things like that, they tend to take on different names. Skunk ape.
Well,
Visit Australia, and it's the Yowie.
Yeah, I mean, here in the South, I mean, you can come across most rural communities, and if they have a creek, they got a monster that goes with the creek, the Turkey Creek monster, all of these different, the Chambers Creek monster, these are just several that, in Northeast Texas
Yeah.
that have communities where there's creatures been sighted.
Yeah.
And when you get out to areas like, out here in Far East Texas, when you talk about this stuff, it's a good chance that somebody that you may be talking to, didn't personally have an encounter, but have a friend or a family member that has seen something and has told them about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of stories don't even get told because people are afraid of being ridiculed.
Absolutely, and that's just it. That's the one thing that we bring up regularly on the show is that a good 70% of the time,
at least.
it is not within the person's vested interest to come forward with a UFO story, with an abduction story, with the story of a out-of-body experience or
Sure.
NDE, or even a Bigfoot encounter, because like you said, most people would be ridiculed.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people
within their
from
community.
all walks of life, all occupations, submit a report with their name and phone number attached. And, if from clergymen to
Wow.
to law enforcement to military, I can see no motivation for them to submit a report saying
Yeah.
they've seen one of these things and attach their name and phone number to it.
Yeah.
What could be the motive? If it became public, they'd be laughed out of town probably.
Well, and that's something that I was going to bring up because you come from the DFW area, Dallas,
Right.
Fort Worth. I mean, the first articles of the Lake Worth Monster, what really spurred you into looking into this as a
Right,
youth.
from 1969.
And do you find that just in general that people are more receptive within communities like out here in Mineola, folk, stuff like that in Arkansas, as opposed to the larger cities?
Well, yeah, because like I said, you run into people that may be interested and may have a friend or family member that's had an encounter or seen something. So, being receptive to it, then, somebody who lives in a high-rise in Dallas, maybe not, is not interested. It doesn't, it's
Yeah.
not relevant to their life.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. I mean, probably not a whole lot of chance to see a squatch strolling through Deep Ellum.
Sure. And
Well, yeah.
there's
it is Deep Ellum.
yeah, I lived there for 7 years, so I know what you mean.
You see all kinds of things.
You see all kinds of things, but out in East Texas, again, where these areas where there's abundant wildlife, you have hunters out in the woods, deer hunters.
Yeah.
And, that's a large subset of people that, have had an encounter.
Well, and people that are also, many of them lifelong experienced in tracking and being able to go out and sit under a tree and track game, not necessarily standing in a blind all day looking for a deer. So there is a skill set there, and especially an experience in the field that, much like
Sure.
depending on any airline pilot who is a trained observer and has thousands of hours in the air, those guys have thousands of hours, their whole life on the ground with the native wildlife and the native fauna and everything. So a report from them, I think really does bring a little bit more credence to it than, let's just say, a city slicker coming out and seeing something.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've talked to hundreds of people over the years, and I feel a portion of those are, being honest, not weren't hoaxed, or describing something that actually happened to them.
Now, how do you? Because I'm actively working on something right now, and I've got an episode in the can that I can't even release until I vet it and literally vet the person. That's how bombastic it is. Just because of legal reasons, it's mind-numbing.
Right.
How do you vet a case? How do you vet a person? How do you vet a story?
Well, you ask them the same question different ways to see if their story is consistent. Sure. If their story doesn't change, if the details, what time of night did this happen?
Sure.
What was the weather conditions? You can look that up. Somebody tells you it happened on such and such night, and there was a full moon out. Well, you can go back.
Yeah, that's not rocket math. That's a Google.
And look at that. But, again, you have to listen with a skeptical ear. But, like I said, what's the motivation for somebody that's a professional person or law enforcement to attach their name to a report when, we offer, anonymity, but, they don't know that for a fact that their name is not going to be attached and on the internet that they saw a Bigfoot. I mean, and, I just don't know what their motivation would be to take that chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and once again, that's a big part of it, to consider the fact of they really have no vested interest, even the interest of, okay, so I'm going to have a book shadow written, whatever. Like, the process behind that is a process in and of itself.
Right.
And the likelihood of that panning out to the extreme is pretty extreme in and of itself.
Sure.
So, man, I want to thank you, Craig, for a lifetime of work in this field, a lifetime of research. And
I just started out as somebody that had a strange encounter, and I wasn't a woodsman, I wasn't an outdoorsman, I wasn't a hunter, but I was curious enough to go out into the woods and do those kinds of things to try and get answers. And I've gotten some answers, but I got far many more questions, from doing it. And it's been an adventure, and my organization was officially it's coming up this year, in June will be 23 years that it's been in existence. And like I said, last year was my 20th anniversary conference in Jefferson, and and I'm adding more events. I'm not slowing down. It's Jefferson is a tourist town, and now I'm a resident there. My parents lived there since '98. And so I enjoy bringing tourists to town because that town depends on it,
Absolutely.
And, it's only a little over 2,000 people, and, it depends on tourism and mostly on the weekends. So,
Absolutely.
Whatever I can do to help the community, I give. Just this year, I awarded for Jefferson High School seniors, I awarded 11 scholarships.
Wow!
For Jefferson for this the fall semester of college, and in Falk I do the same thing. And I just sent the paperwork in yesterday to the counselor at Falk High School. This year, every student that applied for the Texas Bigfoot Scholarship or the Falk Monster Scholarship, I awarded every student a scholarship. Usually I pick. But I awarded 8 in Falk and 11 in Jefferson this year. So 19 high school students are going to get funding for their education, by Bigfoot, basically.
That is incredibly awesome, man.
So, I believe in giving back to the community.
That's right.
They've embraced it.
Yep.
And so, trying to come up with a way to give back and pay it forward. And, if a kid can go to college and and buy his books with money from the Fouke Monster. I mean, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and if anything, whenever you're sitting around doing what college students do in their dorm, and you're talking about how you got here and everything, I'm on an academic. Well, I'm here on baseball. What about you? Well, I'm here because of Bigfoot.
Yeah, I got a Bigfoot scholarship. I got the Fouke Monster scholarship.
And what a conversation starter, and what a way to literally bring that about to a whole new generation.
And I ask on the application that I made for the students, I have one line on there that says, what does,
what does the Fouke Monster mean
to you? Yes.
Yeah.
And so we get, all kinds of responses from the students. In Jefferson, what do you think about Bigfoot in East Texas? What do you think about the Fouke Monster? So
it's not like applying to Ghostbusters where you have to believe in the Loch Ness Monster, the theory of Atlantis.
No. So, like I said, I like to give back to the community, and this year, instead of just picking and choosing, because I normally pick, two students from each batch, but I was just like, 11 kids submitted. Okay, we'll give it to 11 people, and in Fouke, 8 people. Okay, we'll give 8 out. I mean, they're not getting as much per person, but everybody that submitted, I figure everybody that had the courage to submit a scholarship application for a Bigfoot scholarship, what the heck? Give them all one.
Heck yeah. So what a great concept.
So that's what I did this year.
What a beautiful idea. Now, before we let you go, shameless self-promotion, when are things coming up? What are the dates for shows? Where can people go to buy tickets? Where can they go to buy their epic Fouke Monster T-shirt? Because I've already gotten mine.
Right.
Got it in the mail. Fits great. Looks great.
You already got
the
it?
Artwork
That artwork
fantastic.
is awesome, isn't it?
Oh, my God. It's beautiful. I should have brought it with me so that I could show it on camera.
But it is very cool artwork that I got commissioned this year. Everything is on Facebook. I mean, Facebook is ubiquitous these days. So the Fouke Monster Festival is on June 18th in Fouke, Arkansas. I've got an event coming up in Jefferson. I'm still working on the details, but it's a planned She Squatchers Come to Texas. It's a group of female paranormal investigators that started doing Bigfoot research, and they're doing an event in Jefferson with some Bigfoot presentations, but also an overnight paranormal investigation at the Haunted Historic Jefferson Hotel.
Nice. That's
in September. October 14th through 16th is the Texas Bigfoot Conference in Jefferson. My new event, Texas UFO Con, is going to be on November 19th, the Saturday before Thanksgiving. And then the Bigfoot Film Festival in Marshall at the historic, it's a beautiful theater. I'm brain dead.
It's all right.
It's at the Marshall City Hall performance venue.
There you go.
But it used to be City Hall through, I think, 1967, and they've recently renovated it into a performance venue where they have concerts and plays and operas. And it's like an old-time theater with the box seats on the side, the balcony and everything.
Oh, wow.
And it's awesome. And, I'm waiting on, firm confirmation from Bobcat Goldthwait to come screen Willow Creek. But I'm going to have some brand new Bigfoot films that are likely to be premiering at the film festival.
Wow.
So there's a couple of new those, and there'll be some older films, and hopefully we'll be screening Willow Creek with Bobcat. So that's what's going on, through the end of the year.
Too cool, man. You have so much going on. You put so much into the community, and I think that is why you get so much out of it.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Anytime you're welcome. My audience
and I
is your
appreciate
audience.
you for sponsoring my events.
Absolutely.
So you can broadcast live just like we're doing here and talk to people about their encounters
and bring the message and the community to a larger audience and community, and that's just it.
Yeah.
I love, as I've told you before, my group is your group. Promote.
Very cool.
Put things on there. That's what the group is all about. So
cool.
Thank you very much for your time today. I know that we have people roaming through right now, so I'll let you get back to your vending. But,
okay, thank you, sir.
We'll be back.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will be back here in just a moment, folks, with more coverage. We're going to see if we can get Daniel Allen Jones up on air We also have the amazing Jason McLean, author of Metroplex Monsters, coming up. We will be having Ryan Edwards come up. He is the author of Cryptids of the World. He is a cryptozoologist as well. So much more coming up live from the Folk Monster Festival. Folk Monster Festival. We aren't there yet. Craig's in my eyesight. Live from the Texas Bigfoot Roadshow here in Mineola, Texas. We'll be back here in just a minute, folks. Don't you go anywhere and stay curious.